Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Season 3, episode 2 already of the year. And we have some of our favorite friends from NexTech with us to explore computer science, but really an awesome competition that NexTech offers in the state of Indiana for computer science, just students and educators. You don't have to teach computer science because really we all teach computer science, but that doesn't have to be your course title. You can get these K-12 kids jumping in and solving a real world problem. So we're going to dig in to that with Sarah DeLong and Jenna Garcia, computer science gurus with NexTech. Obviously, they do a lot more than that, but they've become a great friend to our district as we are moving towards a partnership with code.org and really trying to bring computer science to all students and teachers. As we think about computer science, and we think about what it is and how it doesn't have to be the title of our course, it's important to remember that it can be really high tech, and it can be really low tech, and it can be really no tech. And so I think as they're talking through this competition and different proposals and prototypes and things that your students can do to participate, you'll realize there's a huge range of things, and really no idea is limited. So, ladies, as we go on to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the picture in the middle. One of our own teachers, Erin Bangle, in 3rd grade, had a group of students make it all the way to the winning bracket for their age group, and then they went on to tie and win the competition with their safe pass. It was a really awesome project. The problem that it solved in their community was helping with the car rider line, which if you're a parent or have ever sat in the car rider line at a school, you know that's a real world problem, and your community probably needs help with that. So they had a really awesome idea. It was a great competition, lots of great projects. They got to meet the governor at the end. It was just really awesome. So that's why we wanted them to come here today so that you could hear more about this awesome competition. So I'm going to throw it over to you gals, and let's get started and learn more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carissa. I will introduce myself first. Jenna, feel free to go after me, and then we will kind of do a brief recap of who NexTech is for those who do not know. So my name is Sarah DeLong. I am the project manager for this CS for Good competition. My CS journey has, really started with NexTech, so I am not as seasoned as Jenna. However, I get to see students kind of, beginning their journey with computer science and really seeing the creativity there. So it's very, very exciting. I think my definition of NexTech, whenever I tell people about NexTech, is we get computer science resources in schools, whether that is through professional development or student experiences like this. So we kind of have a two-wing approach. Jenna is kind of my right-hand person. So she is fantastic, and she will kind of share her computer science journey, NexTech journey, and who NexTech is to her.
Awesome. In a really small, big nutshell, I'm Jenna Garcia. I am the Director of Educator Success at NexTech. So my job really is to ensure that every teacher in the state of Indiana is successful in bringing computer science to their K-12 students.
Yeah, and just to reiterate,
my computer science journey
in
started
Indiana only,
in
Jenna?
2nd grade.
Wait, tell me.
Yes, we are in Indiana only. Unfortunately, for all of you watching outside of Indiana, there are other organizations similar to NexTech throughout the country and in other countries, but NexTech only serves K-12 students and teachers and school districts in the state of Indiana. Thank you for that. So I fell in love with computer science when I was in 2nd grade, and then fell upon it again when I was in 9th grade, ended up getting my degree in computer science. I've worked in the tech industry. I've worked as a computer science high school teacher, and I have been in education computer science nonprofits now for just over 10 years. So I really live, breathe, die computer science. It's my jam. I love it. And Sarah is our project manager for CS for Good, but it was my brainchild that I took and started just before the pandemic hit. And she has carried it and nurtured it and grown it. And it's the awesome thing that it is today. So, Sarah, let's get started.
Yes. With that being said, let's hear a little bit about what CS for Good is. Carissa gave a great kind of recap. But Jenna, let's go into a little more details on what the CS for Good competition is.
Yeah, absolutely. CS for Good is this idea. So CS is the acronym shortened for computer science. And so the idea is that computer science as a subject, as a topic, as a field, as an industry, literally exists to solve problems for everyone else, for anything else. So any other industry, any other topic, computer science exists for that. Computer science can be used for good or for nefarious reasons. And we want to help students and teachers think about ways that they can use computer science in their classrooms, in their communities, to solve problems in a positive light. And so that's generally where the idea of it came from.
Mm-hmm. So during this competition, Jenna, who can participate, or what are we looking for?
Sure. Any K-12 student in the state of Indiana can participate. We have 3 different divisions. They compete in silos amongst themselves. So a 3rd grade team isn't competing against the 6th grade team. So it's in the silos of K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. So the generally defined elementary, middle, and high schools, you have those 3 divisions. The teams are 3 to 6 students. So we require and mandate that 3 because we really do believe in the power of working together as a group. You're not going to get to the real world and not work together in groups and teams working on projects. And so we really like promoting and supporting that in your classroom. And then 6 can get to be unruly, too many ideas, opinions, thoughts, competing stuff going on there. So that's that. And then teachers. So we ask for teacher sponsors. You don't need to be their teacher. So if you are a media specialist and you see your students once a week and you want to sponsor the teams, that's great. If you are an admin and you have, if you are an admin and you have students in multiple classes that don't see each other during the day because they're not in the same class, they don't have the same teachers, you could sponsor a group. So there's no need for you to be a classroom teacher sponsoring students in your class. You just need to be an adult in the school that those students are coming from. And then you as a sponsor can sponsor as many teams as you want. There is no limit to the number of teams that you sponsor, and there is no limit to the amount of creativity. We're going to start talking about solutions in a little bit, but one thing I do want to make sure that I voice over is that if you are a teacher and you're like, this is great, we do this one project and we're going to turn this into a CS for Good competition, that's great. We love that. But if you turn in 10 projects that are all solving the same problem, it becomes really hard for us and for our judges to determine which one is better or different than the other ones. And so just keep that in mind, that if you're turning in 10 projects that are all solving for global warming, we're probably only going to pick the best of those 10 just because they're all so similar. So that's something I definitely want to voice over.
Yeah. And Jenna, I have a question. I'm in the high school. So what if I have like a 9th grader and a couple of 10th graders? Can you mix ages within that?
Yes, absolutely can. And yes, we do have a couple of K-6 schools that we know of in Indiana, and that's okay. We have had a 5th grade team with 1 6th grader in it. We also had a 6th grade team with a 5th grader in it. So we can work with teachers on that if that happens, but we obviously don't want like a 12th grader working with a group of 1st graders and then turning in this stellar 1st grade project for elementary school because they had a high school student on their team.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this prompt, I'll touch on this briefly because we already kind of chatted about this. The prompt for this competition is very there's a lot of room for you to interpret. So it is truly just, we are asking you and your students to solve a problem using computer science in your community. You can determine what your community looks like, whether it is your specific classroom, whether it is, the United States, the world, right? There is a lot of flexibility there. That is the only thing that we are asking you to do for the prompt. So wide open, a lot of creativity, which is what we really encourage. So Jenna, can you touch a little bit on the project details of like what they will be submitting whenever it comes submission date?
Sure, absolutely. So when your team submits a project, they're going to be submitting 3 things. The first thing is just a brief description. That is, think of it like an elevator pitch. Like you've got 30 seconds to like spew out all the information you can about your project so that someone knows what it is, very detailed, but quick and specific. And then the second part is a short narrative. So we say no more than 2 pages. We understand kindergarten, first graders typing up or writing out pages is going to be like size 14 font, double spaced. That's totally fine. Whereas like a high school student is going to be like size 9 font, half space, right? Like we get that. We understand that. It's not really about the length. That's just a parameter that we put in place. So no one is turning in like 80-page papers. And it gives you specifics. Like when you go to our website, which we are going to be sharing in the video description, it gives you a rubric that we're going to show a little bit in a minute, but it's going to ask you like, how did you approach this problem? Like first you came up with the problem. What was the problem you wanted to solve? Then you came up with a solution. How did you determine the solution you wanted? Who are the people on your team? What did each person on the team do or contribute to the project, right? And so it's like very specific questions that you have to answer in this narrative, just so that we kind of understand what the process was, what the students went through. And then part 3 is a short video. We say no more than 10 minutes, and that's demonstrating the project. We have students who like hyper over engineer it and put it in iMovie and it's gorgeous and amazing, and they don't make it to the finalists. And then we have other students who just straight sit there and talk and like show pictures and like go through like what their solution is on like their iPad, and they end up to the finalists. So for us, the video isn't necessarily about the production of the video. It's you being able to voice over stuff that wasn't available or you didn't have space for in that brief description or that 2 pages. So it's like the video is like your chance to like shine, basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we have been talking quite a bit about the submission process, but maybe let's talk a little bit about what a project actually looks like and how, what you turn in can be tailored to what level of computer science you are comfortable with.
Yeah,
so Jenna, if you could touch on that.
Absolutely. And Carissa kind of touched on this at the beginning too. You do not have to be a computer science teacher to run this project. So when we think about computer science, we think about technology or computational projects. Now, specifically speaking, we have highlighted you could make a prototype. So if you are in K-5 and your students do not have the technical wherewithal to come up with a working project, you can make a prototype. And so we walk through, we have a bunch of resources for you that you can look at on how to do paper prototypes. So that's just writing out. So pretending like you're making like a phone app, and you have like a bunch of different phone screens, and you draw out what each screen does, and you pretend to press the button on the paper and it goes to the next screen. That's a paper prototype. That's perfect. That's amazing. It's again, getting those students' gears moving, thinking about what's going on, solving for a process. So K-5 paper prototyping or digital prototyping are amazing. We don't actually ask those younger, the elementary school kids, for any code. We don't want to see anything. We don't care if it's like an actual working prototype. If you're using Scratch or Code.org or whatever, or if it's just using a prototyping app. We just love the solution and having them think about how computer science can be used for good. Then you get to further along. If you are in middle school and high school and you are teaching computer science, or again, you're an administrator and you have kids in 4 different computer science classes that are all on the same bus and they want to do a project together, right? meet the students where they're at, use the tools and the solutions that they know how to use, and then you can build an app. You can make a website. It could be a physical computing thing. It could be a robot. You could be using a microbit, a circuit playground. This should not be money intensive of a project. It should be anything that the students already know how to use, that they're using in the school, that you as an educator or an administrator are comfortable with them taking and using and borrowing for the duration of this project. So that's what we're kind of looking at. So again, so long as it's like a computational solution, you are using computer science to solve a problem for good, whether, like Sarah had mentioned, it's in your classroom, it's your school, your district, your specific town or city, your state, your country, right? Like it's a computational solution for good. That is our limitation on what a project is and a submission should look like.
Awesome. So there are 3 slides of this, but we're just going to briefly touch on these rubrics. All of these rubrics are available on the link that we will share within the chat, or excuse me, within the video description. So we have 3 different rubrics, elementary, middle, and high school. And basically there's a point system that we look at these projects when they are submitted to us. We match up with the rubric, look through, we make sure that they meet all of the criteria. And it is a better way for us to gauge, what the project, if they followed the rubric and if they should be invited into the finalist round. So this is the rubric that we will be grading off of. Again, these are all available on our website. Brief description, short narrative, video, final project. So it does list kind of all of the points that we are looking for. Yep. Fantastic. Okay, so finalists and announcements for the event. This year, all of the projects are due by November 4th. So we are, I know that like holidays are coming up and everything like that. So definitely put that one on the calendar. Applications for submission will open mid-October. However, if you turn in your project early, that does not necessarily mean that we are going to look at it early. We will look at them all together as a lump sum and let you know within 4 days after November 4th if you are selected to be a finalist and invited to the State House. So that is our timeline there. The event for the State House, the date for the State House is December 4th. That is the week before CS Education Week. So we'll be kicking off CS Education Week at the State House. It's a great event. We invite a lot of legislators, parents, teachers, principals, anybody who would like to come and celebrate computer science. You are more than welcome to. But the students really, when they are invited to the finalist event, Carissa, I'm sure you could speak to this. It's almost magical for them. The Indiana State House is just fantastic. Sometimes we have some really important special guests, and we are hoping to have that lined up this year, just dependent on schedules. So the finalist event is fantastic. Jenna, I don't know if you have any additional items to add to that.
Yeah, real quick. How many top teams get invited per grade band? I
would love to answer that. So there's 4 teams from each division are invited to become finalists. Every year, especially with NexTech, especially with teachers, our submission amount varies. So we really, really try and get to that 4 invited from each division. It depends on how many are submitted, but 4 is kind of our target. Awesome. So Jenna, I know you have briefly touched on this and we are nearing the end of our 20 minutes. But can we talk a little bit about the reflection and implementation piece and maybe some tools that we have lined up and how you get those tools, maybe by registering? And can you touch on that a little bit?
100%. I would love to. So this slide is really just going through pausing for a second, saying, okay, I would love to do this with my students. How can I make this work, right? How can I either bring this into my classroom and have the whole class do it? How can we work as a grade level team and have the whole grade do it? Does it make sense to maybe pivot and do the science fair in the spring, and we do a computer science fair in the fall, and we have those projects among us get submitted to CS for Good or something like that, right? So kind of just thinking about where this fits. We've talked about it a lot in this conversation. You can be a classroom teacher. You can be a STEM media specialist. You could be an administrator. You could be someone, you could be the custodian at the school who just loves computer science and really wants to bring it to your students. And you have time after school to bring those kids together, or you're willing to dedicate Wednesdays for lunch to bring them together to discuss their project, right? So thinking about that, thinking about not adding more to your plate, but again, something you're already doing in your class, how can we alter this or change it? A lot of teachers love the project-based learning style. And so that is really conducive to this project. And then also realizing, right, if you are familiar with a science fair, you've got those students who love it. And then you've got those students who just go through the motions and they do it, right? And the same thing is going to happen for the CS for Good competition. We at NexTech don't expect every student to love it or turn in top-notch work or want it to even be submitted. And to set that expectation for yourself and understand that that's okay if you have 10 teams that submit to you, but you actually only end up submitting 4 because you just know the quality of work for your students and you give them a grade. That's okay. We are okay with that. We don't need every child to love computer science. We just love having students have access to it. So that's something to keep in mind. And then again, as we mentioned, we're going to have the link to NexTech in the description below. Just to voice it over, it's NexTech, NexTech.org. Then it's / and then if you type CS for Good and you write out the word FOR, so CS FORGOOD dash, so like the little line that goes across 2024, that will take you to this year's competition page. On that page, you will find links to the rubric that we shared, and you will find a link to register. Now, registration isn't mandatory. It's not required. However, by registering, we can then send you, we created a really nice graphic organizer for those of you that might be a little terrified, feeling like you're overwhelmed, to kind of help your students get their creative juices flowing and those gears turning to say, hey, how could I make a computer science project for good? What might this actually look like? And it walks students through, let's find some problems. What are some problems going on in our classroom? What are some problems going on like Plainfield, right? Like our pickup line is awful. It sucks. How can we fix this? And that's what those students did. They found a problem first, and then they ideated on solutions for it. And then they defined what that solution goal would be, and then they prototyped it, right? And so that's kind of what we're looking at, what we'll give you when you register. We'll welcome you, thank you for registering, send you this graphic organizer. And then also by registering, you get updates from Sarah and the NexTech team on when things are happening. Hey, just a quick reminder, projects are due on the 4th, which is on a Monday. So if you want to think about telling your students it's due on November 1st, which is a Friday, so that you have one more school day to pester them, those last projects that you really, really need all the information for, that's great. And so we would love to have some of you who are watching this video register, sign up. The other cool thing is we are now in our 6th year of CS for Good competition. We have full funding for it. It is not going away. So if you are looking at the calendar and you're like, it's already almost mid-September, I don't have time for this, I wish I had known about this during the summer so I could have prepped and planned and gotten my brain around it, then you know what? Join us next year and we're completely okay with that. Or if you are watching this video in December of 2024, hey, you know what? Look out for us for next year because we'll be there too. That's all I've got. Sarah, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think Jenna wrapped it up with a bow. I certainly recommend registering for the competition. It just opens that line of communication. Both Jenna and I are great resources, even just to bounce ideas off of. So we would love, love, love to see you submit projects for the 2024 CS for Good competition.
I think this has been so great, this be able to collaborate with you guys today. What great ideas. And I think that the part that I love the most is that we are encouraging that design thinking process. We are saying, hey, you can actually take something that you are currently doing in your classroom. You have a story that you were reading in your basal reader, something that you have to get across to your students. And what a great way to really see how they comprehend the story, then to design a prototype or find a way to solve the problem of what that character is experiencing in their story, or think then how does that character connect to their community, so then they can also solve the problem within the community. You can just build on something you currently are doing, and I love that you mentioned that. I think this is so amazing, and I'm excited because I'm going, now that I know more information about it, I can have my students get involved in this. So thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing more information about this for other teachers. We are going to be back Monday, October the 14th at 4:30, and we are going to be diving into National Park Service and the Every Kid Outdoors program. This is something that Carissa has been very passionate about over the years, and it's something that every student in 4th grade in our community is actually a part of, to where they can go to any national parks in the United States when they are a 4th grader. And so there'll be lots more information about that with a friend that Carissa has, and her name's Park Ranger Jen. And I cannot wait to meet her. I've heard so much about her, and it's just going to be absolutely amazing. So we'll see you again in October for a little bit more information about that. Season 2 still has some streams out there if you want to go visit any of the guests we had during season 2. You can hit us up on YouTube to get those PGP points. And we love your feedback. Our students are having so much fun already this school year, diving into computer science with the different apps, investigating things through Magic School and other things that we're doing in our room. So we thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. Connect with us if you like. Thanks so much. We are YaySTEM.